This is the BG Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. I'm your host, Baxter Colburn. Good Monday to you. Happy Leap Day, everybody. My goodness. I've been able to say Happy Leap Day in, 4 years, as is usually how it works out. So Happy Leap Day to all of you. Hope your day is going just about as awesome as mine. Actually, no, I hope your day is going better than mine. I've been feeling a little sick today, unfortunately. I don't know what the deal is. My wife was sick last week, and I don't know if she was kind enough to finally pass on the sickness to me or what it is, or maybe after working a couple extra shifts over the weekend and my lack of sleep or so. I'm not exactly sure. Either way, though, I'm not going to let that get me down. We've still got a pretty good show in store for you today. David Kenyon of Bleacher Report will be here a little bit later on in the program, as he always is. Connor Christensen has his Fight Corner for us as well, so it's a little bit longer one today as well. So if you're listening to that, it's a pre-recorded interview, so if you're wondering a little bit later on in the show, like, wow, this thing is taking forever. Well, just know he had a lot to get to during it, so he goes through and covers all the big things, and then next week he'll be back for a little bit shorter one. So because we hadn't talked in a while, he wanted to get all the good stuff in. So just FYI, that's coming up a little bit later on in the program. If you guys ever want to get at the program now, you can email us at bgsportshow@gmail.com. And you can find us on social media as well by going to the BG Sports Show on Facebook and on Twitter by going to @BG Sports Show or at myself, Baxter Colburn. Not myself, Baxter Colburn, at Baxter Colburn. You know what I mean. And if you ever if you enjoy listening to the show, we encourage you to go listen to it on Sports Radio America from 4 to 6 p.m. Central Time on sportsradioamerica.com and on the TuneIn app. And you can catch the show on demand if you ever miss one, either live here on Spreaker from 1 to 2 p.m. Central Time or on Sports Radio America. You can go listen to it on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and on Spreaker.com as well. So some of the things I want to get to right away for the show. Some interesting news, a positive and a negative of the sports world right away, pertaining both to the NFL, of course, because the NFL is what people are wanting to still talk about, even though we are in the off season, and I don't want to say that it's not relevant right now, but it's semi-not relevant right now just because we're still a little ways away from the draft, and the combine is, I know, going on right now, or finished up actually. So people are still interested though about what's happening in the wonderful world of the NFL. So one of the things we're going to talk about right off the bat though is Peyton Manning announcing that he will be retiring officially at the end of the week. He's not officially come out and said, I am retired. He's saying at the end of the week, so it sounds like Friday or Thursday or Friday, he'll have a press conference and do the official hoopla of everything there. So he mentioned he wanted to take a couple weeks after the Super Bowl to debate it, and he's done that. He's taken about 3 or 4 weeks to debate everything and kind of get all his ducks in a row, which I think is a good move for him. I think from a overall perspective, he should not have been in the league any more than this. And I know that he could maybe hang around and be maybe a backup quarterback to help out some young up-and-comer, but I'm sure he's not about that life at this stage in his career. He either wants to be on the field or he wants to be home, retired, on the couch, just loving life, kind of going that route. So, which is totally fine, and I can't blame him for that either. So it's going to be, it'll be a little weird next year, not having the man Peyton Manning out on the field. As we mentioned, though, he's it sounds like here from the Denver Post, they've commented, said Peyton has not made a decision on his future plan remains for him to continue talks with his team this week. This is interesting. This is interesting. I'm so sorry. See, I started telling you guys all of this because I had seen certain information from one source, and now, as we're here live on the air, of course, I'm seeing another article just coming out from Sports Illustrated and from a few other places saying that Peyton has not chosen to officially say he will retire. He's talking with the team a little bit more this week, which I was just saying. But it sounds like if he wants to play another year in the NFL, that the Broncos are going to part ways with him, regardless. One way or another, it sounds like he's going to not be on Denver next year, regardless if he's still in the league or not. So, yeah, that's what everybody's saying right now here, it looks like. It says that Denver Broncos will part ways with Peyton Manning even if he doesn't retire. Well, interesting. Well, my apologies, everybody, for starting to come off the show so hot and heavy there. But that's the beauty sometimes of live radio sometimes, is that you can't always change something once you said it. In that case, I would have, hit stop. I would have gone back and I would have re-recorded, but we don't have that kind of time. Anyway, what I do know for a fact, though, is that there is a new video that came out of Johnny Manziel. Supposedly, it looks like him. It's very, very, very close to him, and a lot of credible news sources are reporting, saying it is him, saying that he was allegedly drinking a lot of alcohol out after hours, after the domestic... my gosh, I can't speak today. There's a video of Johnny Manziel coming out saying that he was drinking alcohol just hours before officials were supposed to announce his domestic violence case was going to a grand jury, if you may or may not have heard that this week. He was down in a Miami nightclub, and it seems like no matter what, even though it sounds like his domestic violence case against his ex-girlfriend is going to a grand jury, Johnny Manziel doesn't really care, and he's going to just live up life and continue to drink and just have fun with it, and doesn't really it's so hard because he had so much promise coming out of college. He had a lot of people were behind him, it seemed like. I could be wrong, but from what it seemed like, it seemed as like a lot of folks were really curious not only to see what he could do on the field, but what he could do off the field as well. And for some reason, it just hasn't worked out for the better of Johnny Manziel's career. And now we find him in this tough situation where he continues to go out and drink. And I haven't heard anything of him doing drugs yet, but unfortunately, like, it's kind of to assume that cannot probably be too much farther away. And yeah, I'm worried about the guy. I want him to get the help that he needs. I feel like he has a lot that he could still contribute to the game of football, but at the same cost, I don't think he is ready and willing to do that, because he would have taken the necessary steps forward to take care of himself, and he's not. And he's mentioned about going to rehab a little bit and such, but he seems to not care that he's going in front of a grand jury because of a domestic violence case, and he doesn't seem to care that he has an alcohol problem and that he is likely going to be without a job, and things that normal people would be very, devastated about. Be like, oh my gosh, I'm losing my job. Oh my gosh, I have an alcohol problem. Oh my gosh, I have this. Oh my gosh, I'm going in front of a grand jury because I, hit my girlfriend. Like, things like that, regardless of how messed up or not a person might be normally, you'd like to think that they would want to go get the normal help needed. But Johnny Manziel has proven to be the exception to the rule for a long, long time, hence why he is now going. He just doesn't seem to care, which is really unfortunate. So I hope that he gets the needed help that will hopefully get him back on the straight and narrow. Whether or not he does go for that, I don't know. I just... yeah. I don't know. I want him to be better. I was always a semi-big fan of his. I enjoyed watching him in college. I enjoyed him, the fact that he came to the NFL. I think this is not a dig against the Cleveland Browns organization at all. So first of all, let that sink in for a second. Also, so that way I can take a drink. Sorry. I don't know if him going to another organization would have been better for his career. I'd like to think maybe it would have. And I don't, like I said, this is not a dig against the Cleveland Browns, but it's Cleveland. We know their track record with different NFL players. We know their track record with quarterbacks, for goodness sake. And a player like Johnny Manziel probably would have done better had he gone to a organization not only that was in a better situation to take care of quarterbacks or take care of its players, but also maybe had a more of a veteran player ahead of him. That way they could have had Manziel sit behind I know this is a very hard thing to say, like a Brett Favre or a Ben Roethlisberger or a Matt Ryan or an Aaron Rodgers or something of that nature. Let him go and sit behind a notable, respectable quarterback, Drew Brees down in New Orleans. Give him somebody that he can sit and learn from and really, just try to find himself and just try to get better acquainted with, who he is as a human being and learn from someone that's been very, very successful in the league as well. So I hope he gets the needed treatment that he needs / wants / deserves, but will he actually do it, and will he actually right his wrongs? I don't know. So Johnny, I hope you do find everything you're looking for, man, and I hope that the needed treatment does come your way. But that's all you can do right now. All you can do is pray for Johnny right now and hope for the best. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some other NFL quarterbacks with David Kenyon of Bleacher Report and a lot of trade rumors swirling around as well, as NFL free agency is just a few short days away. We'll be right back with more here on the Leap Day of the BG Sports Show. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the BG Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. I'm your host, Baxter Colburn. As we continue to move on with the show, I just want to take a moment to remind all of you that you can listen to the BG Sports Show from 4 to 6 p.m. Central Time right here on Sports Radio America and on Spreaker.com from 1 to 2 p.m. Central as well if you want to catch the show live. You can also find it on demand on iTunes, Spreaker.com, and on iHeartRadio as well. Go and download any one of those specific apps, and they will lead you to the promised land that is the BG Sports Show, so that way you can listen to all the great, wonderful things that we have on the show. All right, speaking of great and wonderful things, David Kenyon of Bleacher Report is here to join us today, and we have an interesting topic to chat about today. A couple of rumors swirling around, so before we get to that, though, David, happy Leap Day to you, sir.
Well, thank you very much.
I know. Now I feel like I won't get to be able to speak to you about anything that we talk about today for another 4 years because it is being Leap Day, but are you doing anything special for Leap Day at all, David?
I'm sorry. What was that?
Sorry, I was asking if you're doing anything special for Leap Day today, since it's such an exciting holiday.
I am sitting on my computer and playing video games also.
Wow.
I mean, that's pretty special.
That's the American dream right there, David.
It is definitely a Leap Day holiday kind of thing. Not a lot of work today, so
that's
taking advantage of it.
Absolutely. Can I ask what games you're playing, if anything sports related or just interesting in general?
NCAA Basketball 10.
Oh.
The last of its kind.
Wow. And who's the program that you're taking to the Final Four this year?
That would be Miami.
I should have known. Okay. All right. Well, David, a couple different things we've heard about in the NFL world. Some rumors, obviously, for NFL free agency is right around the corner, so teams are gearing up to try to figure out, who they want to keep, who they don't want to keep. But one interesting article that I saw a couple days ago was suggesting that the Patriots might want to trade Jimmy Garoppolo to get maybe one of their first or second round draft picks back that they had suspended because of Deflategate. And I'm curious to get your thoughts about whether or not, number one, that Jimmy should be shopped around a little bit, and how important those picks are that the Patriots lost.
Well, the first round pick, no matter where it is, that's always important. You get a chance at one of the top 32 players that you think are in the draft, and I mean, you miss out on that, and you better hope that it was for a good reason. And I'd say deflated footballs and all the saga that went with it is not necessarily a good reason.
True.
But man, I think that the Patriots, that rumor that was floated, they might pursue that a little bit, because today Tom Brady was extended through 2019.
Yeah.
And I mean, if Tom Brady's going to stay there for another 4 years, Jimmy Garoppolo might be the best quarterback in the 2016 draft, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that one, absolutely.
Now, that is said very conservatively, to the point of we have no idea what other NFL teams think of Garoppolo, other than he went through the second round of the 2014 draft, and the Patriots took him 62nd overall. So either they jumped on him earlier than expected, which I don't think that's necessarily the case. He had built up a good stock before the draft, so I think the Patriots just took him 62nd because they were willing to have him develop behind Tom Brady.
Yeah, exactly.
And if the Browns, for example, or the Rams or the 49ers want to invest in Garoppolo, that's okay. That's great. But you're going to take somebody who sat on the bench for 2 years now and has very limited experience. And that article that mentioned the rumors, they're saying, well, would they take a second rounder? I mean, I don't know. How do you perceive Garoppolo's value at this point?
Exactly, yeah. New England's value of him is probably going to be a little bit different than any other NFL team because they haven't seen him work day in and day out.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a really interesting discussion to have, because you'll have one team who's like, well, maybe he's a fourth rounder, another that, well, I mean, it's under the Patriots, so
yeah.
We see what Brady did while he was sitting behind Bledsoe. Maybe that happens, and then you cough up an early second rounder for him. Is he worth that? I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, I was going to say. Well, I was going to ask you, what would you assume if you're a GM of another NFL team and you're being offered Jimmy, what would you offer back in exchange to get him if you could?
At this exact moment, I would say I'll give you a fourth rounder for him. Maybe start out with a fifth.
Okay, and try to maybe get talked down before.
And I don't think the Patriots trade him for that. But
no, I don't think so.
How do you invest a high pick into somebody you don't know is even any better and is a few years older than the rookie you could get? Exactly,
and I'm not to say that this could be the exact same scenario, but you're looking at what Tom Brady's doing right now. He's staying around a couple more years. It's a little different, obviously, but it reminds me of what Green Bay did when they brought in Aaron Rodgers. He sat behind Brett Favre for a couple of years and then, learned everything that he could. And I think we could all assume that Aaron Rodgers has done fairly well for himself since that. Not to say that Rodgers and Jimmy are the exact same person, which is totally not true, but it's a similar storyline. It's a similar possibility that I'm sure some folks at home are going, maybe, but with New England, I'm sure it's a little bit different between Favre and Brady and Rodgers and Jimmy.
Of course, and there's a very delicate conversation when talking about Rodgers and anybody else who sits.
Exactly.
And I'm a total victim of that as well, but we have to remember that Aaron Rodgers, it was shocking that he fell that far. He was projected number one overall by a handful of people. So it's not like Rodgers just was a guy who slid through the draft like Russell Wilson. Rodgers was a top pick who just fell and fell and fell. And, I mean, he's done very well for himself. And that's great. But Garoppolo was a mid-second at best. We thought third round, and he goes one of the last picks of the second round.
Sure.
So it's pretty different conversation. With that being said, you do look at a guy who's developed for 2 years, and that is an advantage to the rookie.
Yes.
So it's a back and forth. Do you want youth? Do you want youth and a little experience?
Because he does have a little bit of game experience.
Cap hit is less than $1 million.
Ah.
That's significant for a backup quarterback in today's NFL.
No kidding. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the minimum wage in the NFL now is $500,000. I think, if I'm correct about that, it's something like that. So
I don't know the exact number, but it's around there.
Yeah. So I mean, in that aspect, you're going to get a rookie potentially if you draft a rookie, and they're going to want a couple million right off the bat for a couple of years. But for Jimmy, you might, like you said, get him a little bit cheaper, develop him a little bit more, and he's got that experience, but he's also still incredibly young. So I mean, I'll be curious to see if New England actually follows through with that or not, and maybe we might see a draft day trade or something like that, where it's like, hey, we'll give you him for him kind of a thing. But one of the other people that we keep hearing a lot about too is Colin Kaepernick. I've heard a couple different rumors ever since Chip Kelly ended up at San Francisco. Personally, I thought, oh, well, great. Colin's finally got a quarterback, or he's got a coach. There we go. That's the word. It has a coach that, runs a similar style of offense of what he used to like to run. And then, Harbaugh left, and then we saw kind of how everything just kind of trailed away. But now all of a sudden we keep hearing that Colin might be leaving. And I've heard a couple different rumors of where he might go, but I'm curious to know if you've heard any more about what's going on with Colin.
Well, for anyone who hasn't heard or kept up or doesn't care to keep up with the latest rumors, because that's all they are, and I cannot blame you for that.
Agreed.
The 49ers general manager, Trent Baalke, had said he expects Kaepernick to be on the roster on April 1st, which is significant because his base salary of $12 million becomes fully guaranteed at that point.
Which is crazy. I don't think he deserves $12 million, but anyway.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a Harbaugh conversation. He made him relevant, and now the 49ers are dealing with pushing out Harbaugh, so that's their fault.
Exactly.
But anyway, so they have the out with the contract, and we thought that's what would happen, and then they hire Chip Kelly. And then Baalke comes out and says this. And, okay, it just makes sense. Give Kaepernick a year. If not, even if you draft a quarterback this year, he can sit for a year, develop, works well.
Yeah.
We know whether Kaepernick is good or bad. Otherwise, you can trade your pick next year, your quarterback, and you get, I'm sure, another first-rounder for a team that is looking for that, other than the fact that next year's quarterback class should be a little bit better.
Hopefully.
But anyway, so then pretty soon after that, another rumor comes out that Kaepernick's agents had sought permission from the 49ers for a trade.
Mm.
So we just don't know where Kaepernick is going to play next year. I hope it's in San Francisco, but we just don't know. Yeah,
I remember hearing rumors right away about the Jets, which seemed a little odd to me, considering I would assume they'd re-sign Ryan Fitzpatrick. I don't know if they're going to do that or not, but I would assume after having a pretty good season, I don't know why the Jets would want to try to go out and get a guy like Colin Kaepernick, but maybe just to try to get a different style of offense up there a little bit. But hopefully they'll go back and stay with Fitzpatrick. It just seems like it would flow with their offense a little bit better.
Yeah, I don't see how the Jets go away from Fitzpatrick. He made about $4 million last year, and he's going to command about $12 million, but the salary cap just jumped about $8 million, so that cap jump takes care of Fitzpatrick's salary itself. You definitely don't go from Fitzpatrick to Kaepernick.
No, I would not recommend doing such a thing. All right, well, David, thank you so much for taking the time today, sir. Our time is never long enough, but I appreciate your insights into the NFL world. Where can folks find your work?
You can find me writing a lot of college football on Bleacher Report and a little bit of everything else on Sportsnaut, and on Twitter at Kenyon19_BR.
Fantastic. All right, David, enjoy your leap day, and good luck with your the U taking them to the Final Four this year in NCAA 10.
All right, I'll get on it.
Sounds good. All right, David Kenyon, good friend of the program. We're going to run to a break. When we come back, Connor Christensen has his first fight corner in a long time here on the BG Sports Show. You're not going to want to miss it. He's got a lot of big things to talk about. We'll be right back with more on the BG Sports Show following this. your host, Baxter Colburn. Thanks for being here with us today on a Monday edition of the BG Sports Show. Hope you enjoyed your weekend as we continue to move on with the BG Sports Show. We're joined now by Connor Christensen to have his fight corner. It's been a long time since we've fought about a few things in the MMA, UFC, wrestling, whatever world. And now Connor has returned back to the studio to give us some of the latest and greatest news. So, Connor, welcome back to the show, sir.
Yeah, it's been a while. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. All right, so we got to ask you about Ronda right away because Ronda has been here, there, and everywhere. She was on Ellen talking about her fight with Holly Holm, saying that she was pretty much knocked out from the first time she even got contact from her from Holly. Heard her talking about wanting to commit suicide after the fight. We've heard all kinds of things, and Ronda has received not only criticism from other people in the industry, but she's kind of been back and forth on herself as well. So can you shed a little bit more light on what the heck's going on with her?
Well, a lot of times your biggest critic is yourself. So
very true.
I totally understand that when she's talking, she's all depressed and everything about it. You know, I fully expected things like that to happen, especially when she was on such a fame high. She was steamrolling anybody and everybody in her weight class. There was no one who could really touch her. Miesha Tate got close a couple times, but that was about it. She could beat literally anyone, and she could even fight some of the guys and probably beat them. So having Holly Holm come in and pretty much manhandle her for the entire fight, you know, you could tell when she got clocked that first time that she was not herself anymore. She did not know where she was anymore, and the fight was over after that first hit. Basically, I mean, obviously,
it's amazing that it went as long as it did, though.
It is. It really, really is amazing.
Do you think Holly knew?
Probably to some degree. I think Holly still respected Ronda enough to not assume. But I mean, obviously, when you're fighting someone, you can tell when you've landed a good shot.
Sure,
you can tell from their body language and how they react to you. But obviously, Ronda was still dangerous, even dazed.
Sure.
So she had to finish her off with the leg kick and everything to the back of the head. That was brutal, to say the least. Ronda has been going through a lot, so it's good to see that she's getting back out there. She hosted Saturday Night Live, which I didn't get to see, unfortunately.
I have yet to see it as well. Yeah,
she's also doing stuff for Sports Illustrated, and she went on Ellen, as you said, and she's still going to do movies. And I heard a quote from her that she wanted to get right with the fans before coming back to fighting. And I guess that makes sense.
Fans,
yeah,
though?
Exactly. That was my thought too. Is who are you trying to appease here? Because are you trying to appease the fans that have been with you since you were in Strikeforce, which is the UFC wannabe almost UFC. It's like the minor league for
basically.
UFC. And are you trying to appease those fans, the fans that love to watch you fight, or are you trying to appease the paparazzi? And not to put any stress on her or anything like that, just in case she's listening. But
thank you, Ronda.
Thank you, Ronda. Big fan. Anyway, I understand that she wants to feel more comfortable, and that is the biggest thing here. She needs to feel more confident, more comfortable in her own ability. And that's not going to happen if she goes into another fight, especially with Holly Holm. Yeah, which is
because that was what everybody was begging for right away. Is like, get him a rematch.
Yeah.
And Dana White was like, well, let's have somebody else step up, and we have seen that now. Yeah. We have a new foe for Holly Holm.
We do, and we will talk on that in a little bit. But,
yes, indeed.
Ronda was not even close to ready. She's still not ready. She won't be ready for a while yet until I can't give a timetable. Her body will heal, and who's to say if her ego will heal in the same way.
Do you think her losing was a good thing for her career? In that aspect, because it's one thing to lose, and it's another thing to get honestly humiliated the way she did.
She did. Dana White himself said it was the biggest upset in UFC history, and no one really thought it was like 1,000 to 1 odds or something or maybe even more. I can't remember exactly. I don't bet. Anyway, but it's
a little bit of a disservice though to Holly though.
That's true, but I don't think people were paying attention to Holly.
No.
Everyone was paying attention to Ronda, and that I think that's the biggest disservice. Not the betting odds or anything like that. It's like, hey, she had to kick Ronda in the head in order to get some attention.
Yeah,
and those
hey, I've been doing things too here, guys.
Yeah. And those fans of Holly Holm know that she was not to be messed with, and I mean, obviously we saw that in her fight with Ronda. But
yes.
most people were just too focused on Ronda, especially, her paparazzi, it's like a movie star having fans too. She has two things going on. She has fighting fans and movie star fans.
Yes.
So she has to try to appease both of them, but she's stretched really, really thin right now. So she's trying to get back to what's comfortable for her. So right now she's doing the Sports Illustrated, Saturday Night Live, Ellen, and then she's going to do some shooting with movies before she comes back to fight. And personally, I feel that she should not have a rematch with Holly right away. I think she should fight a couple people first. I would say at least one person before Holly. I would even go in like 2 or 3 before Holly.
Yeah, it would be hard. You got to get yourself back up to speed, honestly, game speed.
She needs to prove herself again.
Exactly.
Because she got utterly humiliated. Like, right now, I think a lot of the women could beat her. So, I think she definitely has to work herself back up and prove herself again to the UFC community if this is what she wants to do anymore.
Does it say, do you think her comments, and I don't want to take anything away from Ronda, do you think her comments on Ellen were a bit much in terms of her saying that she was debating on suicide and whether or not she was even really worth anything anymore? And she's like, well, what am I supposed to do if I can't fight? What am I supposed to do?
Right. It's hard to say how much is played up for that type of show. I don't think that her comments were necessarily over-exaggerated because especially
she seemed genuine, but at the same time, we weren't there. We don't know what she was thinking in the moment.
That's very true. And it could have been, just a brief second of whatever. But, I mean, after being utterly humiliated by Holm, I think that would be a fairly common thing for someone like Ronda to think, like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
I can't fight anymore, because she had steamrolled anybody and everybody that had ever fought her. So having been humiliated in that way, she didn't even know there was that caliber of a fighter out there. And so I could see why that would, rock her world, rock her psyche, all of that stuff. But I think overall she can bounce back from this if she wants to.
I think so, yeah.
So is it good or not for her career? It's all dependent on how she takes it and how she rolls with it, because she could go into this depression and never try to get out of it and that would, it could kill her career.
That's true. I mean, it's obvious that if she doesn't want to fight anymore, she still has a good entertainment career if she wants it. And she'll make more money in the entertainment career than she ever will fighting, regardless.
Oh yeah.
I mean, she could probably stay conscious and healthier a lot longer too, kind of a thing.
Very true.
It's one of the it's hard. And I think that's why a lot of athletes maybe try to get into media a little like mid-level of their career. If they understand that they're having a decent career, but they try to do a little bit of things. I know one of the guys that comes to my mind is Brandon Marshall. I mean, he's still an active NFL player, but he's still on, I think it's Around the NFL or Access NFL or something like that. So he has his own show outside of playing because he knows he loves the game, but he knows that he's going to be done in maybe 5 years at the most, and he wants to still make money and have a living and still be around the game without, hopefully having too many complications with his body and his mind.
And I mean, Ronda has to understand that even though she lost the belt, she has had one of the most successful UFC championship careers ever.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can't argue against that.
No, and her section of the UFC women's, just UFC, part of that book, her chapter is going to be remembered for, as long as the sport has continued to be played.
Exactly. No matter what.
She will never be forgotten.
Even if Holly was her last fight, if she finally comes to a realization saying, you know what, I'm just going to be done. I'm going to do entertainment, I'm going to do whatever else that makes me happy, it keeps me safe, whatever. She's still going to be one of the most storied figures in UFC history, no matter how you cut it.
Another thing to think about is, she has had that for her entire life. She has won her fights her entire life.
Yeah.
And to be humiliated like that, that's going to shake the foundation of how you've been for the past, X amount of years, a long time. And so I totally understand that it's taken a while to come back, and it could take another 6 months, another year, whatever. I do think that Ronda loves to fight and that she'll be back.
Yeah,
I do.
I agree with you on that.
And I think that she will be very, very, what's the word, successful when she comes back. I just think that she needs to build her confidence back up.
In the meantime, now, since she's resting and she's focusing on other outside of fighting activities, we do have another matchup for Holly Holm coming up.
We do. Miesha Tate has stepped up to the plate here to try to take the belt from Holly. I like this fight. I like this fight a lot. I think that Miesha Tate is a really, really good matchup for Holly because I think that her ground and pound is spectacular. Her submissions are spectacular.
Yep.
And I think she will stand up better with Holly than Ronda did. And I think she's earned it. I think Tate has really, really earned it. She gets better with every single fight that she does. And I definitely think this fight will be more interesting than Holly's last fight.
What happens if Miesha beats Holly?
That is a wonderful question. Well, I mean, obviously, the rest of the UFC, the rest of her weight class are instantly trying to, how do I beat Tate now?
Absolutely, yeah. But I'm just wondering more so from the ramifications of Holly beat Ronda.
Right, and now
Ronda's beaten Tate.
Right.
Now Tate beats Holly. It's like, well, where do we go from here?
You just got to send Ronda back to get the title.
I mean, that would be obviously the logical progression, but at the same time, I mean, like, if I'm Ronda and I see that someone that I've beaten before, it's like, I've beaten Miesha Tate before, and she goes out and rocks Holly Holm, hypothetically.
Yeah, hypothetically.
I feel like that, number one, plays a huge mental thing on Ronda, but then Miesha Tate, I feel like, deserves now that spotlight.
Definitely. Miesha Tate would definitely deserve that spotlight if she came out and beat Holly. Not irregardless of Ronda. Beating Holly Holm would be an achievement.
It is.
Definitely not something to scoff at all.
No.
I see, in regards to Ronda, I see that going one of two ways. She could either take it as, well, I've beaten Tate 3 times, and maybe I'm actually better than I thought I was and all this stuff, so let's get back into it and let's fight again. Or I could see, like, wow, I must be really, really, really bad now because I beat Tate 3 times and she just beat Holly, so I'm worth even less now.
Sure.
Those are the two major extremes of the direction it could go. It would be somewhere in there, but I think hopefully that Ronda would take it in the more positive light, that she could come back to fight. But with Holm, I don't think Holm will take it as hard as Ronda did.
No, I don't think so.
Holm has been fighting her whole life. She has way more fights.
30? 31?
Yeah,
she's older than Ronda. I know that by a couple of years.
But she's been fighting. She has more fights than both Tate and Ronda together, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
And so she is much more experienced. So taking a loss like that, I do not think would crush her that. I do think that she would come back with a vengeance, and I could see her getting an instant rematch. I could see that happening.
Okay, UFC 197 or 198.
Yeah. I could see that happening.
Yep.
But I don't know. I personally like the idea of letting the new champ take on the next contender.
Yeah.
So that they don't have to. That way, it's not just 3 people fighting each other all the time.
Exactly, because they're kind of the big 3.
Yeah, and then no one cares about the rest of the division.
Yeah.
So
if you're trying to promote the sport as a whole, you have to give other opportunities to up-and-comers.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So that's how I see it playing out. I do like the Tate Holm fight, though. I think that will be a really, really fun fight to watch, barring some crazy circumstance where Holm comes out and drop kicks Tate or something, or
that would be unfortunate.
Tate comes out with a chair and no, I'm just kidding.
Chainsaw. Like, what the heck?
I am also very excited for the co-main event of UFC 196. Conor McGregor. It was supposed to be Dos Anjos, but now he broke his foot, so he's no longer doing it. So Nate Diaz is stepping in to take it. Dana White
volunteered his tribute.
Yeah, apparently a bunch of fighters came out saying that they wanted to fight Conor. And Dana White said at the end of the day, it came down to Diaz, and they thought that was going to be the one that sold the most tickets, which I can totally see, mainly because they're fighting up at welterweight, which is 170 pounds. Or 170 pounds. And,
I wasn't going to say anything. I'm just going to let you go with it.
Sorry. Where Conor McGregor usually fights at 145, and Nate Diaz normally fights at 155. So we have a lightweight and a featherweight fighting at a welterweight.
Makes sense.
Just the most random assortment of weight classes, and hey, let's just fight at 170. Yeah. Whatever. That's pretty much what Conor said.
Like, let's just go.
So they're going to fight. No titles on the line, but a lot of money and a lot of pride are on the line.
Why not?
It would be interesting to see if Conor can beat Diaz, who has fought at welterweight before. If he can beat Diaz at 170, how long would it take before Conor would get the title fight for the 170 belt? Because Dos Anjos has a broken foot. He's out for weeks now.
Yeah.
He's not fighting for months.
Because he's the title holder.
For the lightweight.
Oh, for lightweight. But for 160.
155.
155, yes.
So you're getting there. You're learning.
One of these days.
But how long would it take before McGregor would get a shot at the welterweight title? Because he wants all 3. He said that in the press conference with Dos Anjos for 196. He said that he wants all 3 titles. So only a matter of time. I think that Dana White is really pushing Conor McGregor right now.
I think so.
Obviously, he knows that Conor McGregor sells tickets and is the new face of the UFC.
Yep.
And so he's gonna let McGregor do anything he wants because he said it. He said it in the press conference that McGregor has backed up everything he's ever said.
He has.
So, and that's very true. So if McGregor asks for it, you let him do it.
Give it to him, yeah. Let him go for it.
So I think if he beats Diaz at 170, that he'll get the title fight. If not, then the next fight, the fight after that.
Okay.
That's my prediction.
UFC 200 is probably going to be that bigger one because it's 196 right now.
Yep.
So you think about it, you try to save a title fight for a nice big number like 200. You know.
But it'll be interesting to say the least. I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a really good fight. But
predictions?
I do think that Conor and Holm are both gonna keep their championships. I think Miesha Tate is really good, and I think it'll be a really good fight. But I think at the end of the day, Holm is too experienced. She'll work around. She'll leg kick, kick to the back of the head. If Ronda couldn't beat Holm, I don't see Tate beating Holm, but Tate has gotten a lot better, and Ronda
didn't
was
fight
not
her style though.
She did not. She tried to fight as Holm, which didn't work out. But if Tate sticks to her guns, she'll have a better chance of winning. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I'm not going to say that Tate doesn't have a chance because I pretty much said that with Holm, and look where that ended up. But it'll be a better fight, I think. Tate has everything going for her that she needs. Mm-hmm. She just needs to watch out for those kicks and the boxing background. Conor is just too. His angles are weird. He's not like a technical. Well, he is very technical, but he's not a very by the book fighter.
Yes,
he fights.
True.
He fights very unorthodox.
It's almost like a street fighter at times.
Yeah, he is, and that's definitely not someone you'd want to find in a back alley, super mad at you. But he goes at such weird angles that I don't see Diaz catching him. So if Diaz can bring it to the ground, then maybe. But McGregor's going to punish him. So I see McGregor taking the fight.
Okay. All right, well, Conor, we got to run, unfortunately. We're a little bit over our time, so we appreciate your insights into the fighting world, as always, here on the BG Sports Show. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much.
All right, well, we're going to run to a break. When we come back, we've still got more. Don't miss it. We'll be right back with more on the BG Sports Show, presented by Sports Radio America. Welcome back to the BG Sports Show, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm your host, Baxter Colburn. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Just heard from David Kenyon a little while ago, and just from Conor Christensen as well. It's been far too long since we've had him on the program to chat about the fighting world, and now he is back on the show, so it's great to have Conor back. So we look to have him back on Thursday as well. He'll have his new fitness tip for us on Thursday, and then a new fight corner as well for us, probably around that Monday time again as well. So a couple other things we want to chat about on the show here. One brief thing, and then maybe a little bit more in depth. We'll see. I'm trying to best gauge the time that we have here on the show today. One of the things that I want to talk about, and I know at times folks are like, well, why do we talk about this? But I'm going to talk a little soccer just for a little bit, purely because it's interesting, because it affects everybody within reason. The United States national team has a whole new crest. They have they've unveiled a whole new crest. It's not as 1990s anymore, really. There's no stars. There's no soccer ball on it anymore. It is almost a Captain America-y looking crest. Not as flashy, but it kind of resembles that like World War II, World War I, World War II generation of lettering, and just kind of something that you'd probably see like on a American jacket, back during wartime. So it's interesting. I wanted to highlight some of the things that were on it. So it's more of a darker blue instead of that more predominant blue that we've come to know and love with the national teams and just America in general. So the crest, these are the 5 things that U.S. Soccer says about it. So the crest is our badge of honor and proudly lays over our heart, which makes sense. The 13 stripes of our flag honor our nation's independence and represent our federation's beginning, also very important. The letters we proudly chant in support of our nation's fearless spirit, reminding us to never give up, also very important. And then the colors stay true to our nation's colors with red and blue drawn straight from the flag. Also makes sense. Like I said, though, I mean the font that the coloring of the blue of the USA looks a little darker than the blue of the American flag. I'm looking at both of them side by side right now, and one is definitely a little darker than the other, but I don't think anyone's going to raise a hoopla over that, honestly. It's good. I personally like it. There's been a little bit of backlash from everything that from different social media platforms that I have seen. Some people on Facebook haven't been too thrilled by it. They've said that it, doesn't properly represent what the U.S. is trying to do. I do find it funny, though, that the United States unveiled it by having Tim Howard do it, which is funny because Tim Howard has not been playing very well in general, and I guess he still is kind of, one of the golden boys-ish, as you were, of the team. But I just find it funny that was the person that the U.S. soccer team chose to speak about, or to have them make such a big announcement for them. Just wanted to see if I could find some of the backlash here. People have been a little salty at times. Let's see. I don't understand what everyone is complaining about. What do you want? A bald eagle shooting lightning? Well, I mean, that would be fun. That'd be sure. Then one person says, literally the worst crest in international sports. It looks like those generic USA shirts they sell at Walmart around the 4th of July. Glad to know you guys still use Microsoft Paint in dealing logos. Very true. Let's see if there's a few other ones here. Looks bland. Guess it will take some time getting used to. What would be better? Playing better on the pitch. Yeah, absolutely. Another one here. Looks like something I would buy from a generic kit at a dollar store. Man, I'll still support the team, though. I wish we had a cool crest just like every other country has. Yeah, that's very true. I'm trying to see if there's anything positive. Why does the crest need to change all the time? I mean, shouldn't getting some stars above it be a first priority? That would look better. Yeah, every time you win a World Cup, you get 1 star added to your crest, and we do not have any. The women's national team has 3, but the men's national team has 0. One person says, looks like the copy of the U.S. hockey team, literally the same logo, all the hype for a cheap-looking logo. Yeah, sounds about right. It's fine. Don't see what the complaints are. Maybe it's not great, but it's not bad. How many people wear scarves anyway? That is true, because a lot of these players and team or media personalities that they're showcasing this all had crests, or all had the scarves about it. And fans enjoy wearing scarves, but it's a little different, I feel like, in other cases. One person says, yikes, preferred the old one. Make it to the quarterfinals in Russia 2018, and I won't care. So yeah, that makes it sound about right. So yeah, they've had people like Jeff Cameron and Brad Guzan. Robin Roberts also made an announcement about it. ESPN did it with Jamie Sirey as well. So there's been a couple different people in the media world that have stepped out and shown support for it. The new hashtag One Nation, One Team for the United States national team. What's the word I'm looking for? Their new logo. Gosh, see, this is the kind of day I've been having, unfortunately. I promise you that on the next show I will be much more attentive and much more lively and exciting. But for some reason today I've just been a little out of it, unfortunately. But hey, that's how it happens, unfortunately, in time. So, so I'm curious. The post is up on our Facebook page. Go and check it out on Facebook, the BG Sports Show. If you listen to us as well, you can let us know on Twitter, at BG Sports Show, at Baxter Colburn. The new logo for the U.S. men's national team is out. Not the worst logo I've seen, but, you'd like to think we could be a bit better at times as well. Let us know about anything else we talked about on the show today as well. Peyton Manning saying that he might retire, saying that he might not. Johnny Manziel continuing to get into tons of trouble. And then I chatted with David Kenyon of Bleacher Report as well about Jimmy Garoppolo and Colin Kaepernick possible trade rumors as well. Not necessarily for each other, but just possible new teams for both of those guys coming up in the near future. So, there's lots of things that could be discussed, lots of different things that we enjoy hearing from you guys, the fans, about as well. So let us know your thoughts about them. So remember, you can find us right here on Sports Radio America from 4 to 6 p.m. Central Time, Mondays and Thursdays, and on the TuneIn app as well. You can get us on demand on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and on Spreaker.com. And you can catch us right here also on Spreaker.com from 1 to 2 p.m. Central Time, Mondays and Thursdays. On social media, the BG Sports Show is on Facebook and on Twitter at BG Sports Show and at Baxter Colburn. And if you ever want to get a hold of the show or be a guest or just hang around and give us your opinion about something, at BG Sports Show, you can find us, bgsportshow@gmail.com. For Connor Christensen and David Kenyon, I'm Baxter Colburn. Enjoy your Monday, your leap day. We'll talk to you guys next month, aka Thursday, on the BG Sports Show. Have a great day, everyone.